After heavy flooding caused devastation earlier this year, voters in the disputed region of Kashmir are going to the polls for an assembly election. I'm Leila Milana Allen, and joining me on the line from Delhi is our South Asia correspondent, Adam Roberts. Adam, Kashmiris are often encouraged to boycott elections to protest against Indian governance, but the turnout for the first rounds of this election have been unusually high. Why do you think that is?
Well, the turnout in Kashmir has been high this time. The first two rounds we've seen over 70% of voters turning out, which is very high for Kashmir. Usually militants call for a boycott, there's violence that puts people off, and people fear that if you do vote you're somehow admitting that Indian rule is welcome, whereas most Kashmiris don't think it is. It turns out this time some people are worried about Narendra Modi, the BJP, the ruling party in India that is doing quite well in the Jammu part of Kashmir as well. Others are just fed up with corruption. Floods that came into Srinagar, the summer capital of Kashmir, killed around 200 people, and people are just fed up with the misrule of the current government in Kashmir and are desperate for a change.
Does Narendra Modi's ruling BJP have much chance of doing well? Historically, they've fared very badly in this state.
Well, the BJP may do well in this election. They could do well in the Jammu part of Kashmir, where Sikhs and Hindus are more dominant. And even among some Muslim allies in the Kashmiri Valley, because of frustration with the two old ruling parties of Kashmir, and a general sense that the BJP can bring development, economic progress and change to the valley, which is much needed. So there's just a chance that the BJP could break through and really bring about a watershed election in Kashmir.
And there's been a lot of violence surrounding this vote, hasn't there?
Yes, there has been a lot of violence as a backdrop to this election. First of all, in October we saw an unusually high level of shelling over the border between India and Pakistan. And this is both armies from both sides being more violent than they have been for 10 years and killing around 20 people in October alone. Then we saw violence by militants in the Kashmir Valley in the last few days as those militants tried to discourage people from voting. It seems to me that most of this violence is to do with the election. It's an attempt by especially the militants to stop the elections taking place, or more precisely, to stop the voters getting involved in the elections. And yet it seems, so far at least, that Kashmiris want to take part. They want to be involved in the elections, even if they don't necessarily want to be ruled by India.
And given what's going on in Kashmir, how are relations between India and Pakistan faring?
Well, of course, the relations between India and Pakistan go from high to low very quickly. We saw Nawaz Sharif, the Pakistani Prime Minister, come to India in May amid great hopes that there would be reconciliation and talks. Instead, in the last few months, we've seen talks called off, that violence across the border, and all sorts of tension because of the elections in Kashmir. There's some hope that next year, with these elections out of the way, the two sides could again come back and have talks once more about how to improve their relations. But at the moment, the situation looks rather grim.
Thanks, Adam. That was Adam Roberts, our South Asia correspondent, on the line from Delhi. In London, this is The Economist.
The Economist.